P320 here, and we got sort of an unboxing. Disclaimer in the video: if you hear chirping and flapping of wings, Cindy felt the need to buy baby chickens at the farm store, so they're over there doing their thing. They're babies, so it is what it is. So if you hear that, it's not your phone. It's just the baby chickens. What we have here is a Sig. As you can see by the box and some of the other stuff laying around here, Sig's been around for a while. They make ARs. They make, nowadays SBRs controlled by the ATF at this point. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but that's for another video. So Sig's been coming out with a lot of different stuff over the course of, a handful of years. Plus, the military adopted their handgun, the M18 or the M17. Those takes on those guns. So they replaced their standard issue sidearm for the military. So they have a military contract. Now, what's cool about this gun is we're going to get into it. How I came across this gun is I traded my P365. We all know about the P365. That was kind of the staple in compact guns that carried more than, 6 rounds, 7 rounds, with single stack. They had that kind of quad dual stack, magazine, 12, 13 rounds. You can get a 15 round for it. So I traded my 365 for this gun because I have a Glock 26. I have a Glock 43. I have the Bursa. I have a bunch of other guns that fit a role of conceal and carry. I just do. So I'm kind of moving away from those guns right now, and I'm trying to find something to experiment with, whether it be a compact mid-size gun or a full-size gun, whatever you want to call these things. And so I'm starting to gain a couple of guns that I want to mess around with for the most part. So I ended up trading my Sig 365 for this gun. So let's open it up here. Let's move some of this because it came with some other amenities here. So what we see here is, again, a Sig P320. It's basically what it is. Came with this thing that I'll probably use it just for S's and G's. The magazine, maybe it came with 2 magazines. I can't remember. So we'll put this box aside because we all know what comes in these boxes. And there's some different shades here of a Sig 320. Another thing that made Sigs popular when they started coming out with these different types of firearms was the fire control unit, the FCU. That's what really made this gun stand out. Now, again, back in the day, there's a couple of guns where you can remove the fire control unit and put it in a different frame. So it's not like totally new, but it's new for, I would say, this part of life, if you're tracking here. So what's serialized is not the frame. It's the fire control unit in the gun. That's what's serialized. So you can take the slide off and pull out all the guts and put them in a different frame. Basically, that's what I'm getting at. So a lot of people got really, excited about that because you can change it in different frames. What you see here is this Sig P320 is sitting on a Wilson Combat frame. Now, I like this frame a lot better than the original, and I have the original right here. And there's a little bit of differences from the original frame that this gun was on to what it's built into today. That's another reason why I traded that 365 away, because there's a couple of upgrades. Now, for a disclaimer issue, when you start upgrading your gun, you can run into reliability issues, or you're going to have to get really familiar with that gun if you're going to carry it, because you're changing the dynamics of the firearm. So I want to put that in this video. So what we have here is Picatinny slot rails for lights or lasers. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the Wilson Combat frame, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you're changing the dynamics of what kind of light or laser you want to put on, or whatever gadget or gizmo that you want to put on there. And then the texturing. I've never liked the old texturing of the original 365s. I like this Wilson Combat texturing. You have this kind of, I don't know, rays. It looks like rays that you have there from the sun, but you have real aggressive texturing here in the front, down the back strap. And I like these cutouts, as you see how they're so defined here, where your shooting hand goes. So I really like that. You kind of get a little bit of a better purchase on the firearm. Again, the one thing that I really didn't like about 320s is the slide. Now, the grip modules are okay. I mean, even this I can kind of get around, but it's just the bulkiness of the frame. This one didn't come with any kind of upgraded sights, but they are dovetailed in there, so you can push them out, put some excess big sights on there, or whatever you feel the need to put on there. So you can change these sights out. I'm going to do that. I've already got a pair lined up. Plus, when I go to the NRAM, I'm going to talk to a couple of companies and see if I can catch a deal. I'm always looking for deals, and I might have a couple extra bucks if I have to do it that way. Another upgrade to this is the trigger. P320s had the atrocious, reputation of it just goes off. It just, you set it down and it just goes off. And that's one of the biggest things. So Sig had people, have their guns sent back in to fix it and put a different trigger on here. This one has this flat face style trigger on it. And we'll show you here, the gun is clear. There's nothing in there. If you even want me to do it the old school way and stick your finger in there and all that jazz, we can do that too, but there's no round in there. Let me show you the trigger pull on this one. Pretty crisp. Pretty crisp. Short reset all the way out. So it's got a way better trigger than the original guns do. Again, when you start modifying stuff, you better be familiar with it and train with it and get good with it. Because when you start changing stuff, again, it changes the dynamics of the function of the firearm. So you want to be really aware of that. A lot of people will be doing the Gucci Glocks and they'll be throwing this and that on it just to make it look cool. I just like this trigger, the style of trigger, and the trigger pull way better than the original triggers on these 320s. I don't even, care where the other trigger is. This one's way better than anything that I've seen through the shop or through messing around with other people that have put a couple of other triggers in their 320s. Wilson Combat stuff, it's pretty standard for high-end, for a high-end, firearms parts and firearms in general. So I really like this one. I think it fits my hand a lot better, and I can get over the beefiness of the slide because it sits better in the hand. For me, I don't know how you are. A lot of other people carry these guns. This is my first experience with the P320. I only had the 365. Simple breakdown. We'll go through that in another video because I have been messing with it. And if you can see my hands, yeah, they are dirty. Again, this gun has a bunch of rounds through it. The original owners put a bunch of rounds through it to make sure it was reliable before they carried it. So, I mean, it's to this point, it's reliable from what they have told me. Again, I'm going to put my own rounds through it. Again, if you look at the other video that I made, I got some stuff for my wedding. So I'm going to be throwing a 124 grain blazer through it, hitting targets and see what it does. But for the most part, it fits my hand. I like this frame way better than the original stuff. Again, that's what I don't like about it. It's just not like this. I think if Sig would have done this, it would have sold. Had a better selling point, but they are popular and they do sell. And this has a flared magwell for changing of magazines, a better source for taking out and inserting magazines. It's got a little bit of a flared magwell. Nothing really gaudy like what you see on race guns and people that shoot competition, but it's flared out there where you can get the magazine in there and you can exchange. So that's pretty cool. Really like that. And again, it fits well with it being flared out there because I can get 3-finger contact on there. Now, the original owner of this gun, look, I'm not trying to bust balls here, but you know, we all have to find our way through life and through the firearms that we buy. Sometimes it feels okay, then you run into another gun that feels way better. So we find our way through life, and we find our way through firearms in gun culture to what's best suits you. So I got a couple of different holsters here that came with this gun. And this wasn't from the guy that I got this gun from. So that was really nice of him to give me it. The first one I got was a We the People holster. Now, a lot of people rag on these guys. But me, I'm going to be honest with you, this is just a basic holster. It's a basic Kydex holster. There's nothing groovy about it. No, nothing. It's basic inside the waistband holster. Now, the thing that I have a problem with is the clip systems that holster companies make. Now, again, this does have some pretty good hardware on there. It is made in America. You know what I'm saying? It is made in America. I get it. It is what it is. But I've had holsters like this fail multiple times where the clip is broke, the hardware gets stripped, or the retention is just not good. This retention, I'm going to have to mess with it because I don't like that. Again, I don't like that. I can show you some 1791 holsters that my retention is pretty good. Now, again, you're going to have to get a good, you know, force to get the gun out of the holster. But again, retention is key, especially if you're going to carry outside the waistband. You carry the way you want to, but carrying outside the waistband, there's risk to it. So you want to make sure, you know, your holster is designed with like a level 2 retention or something like that. This is inside the waistband, but again, the retention is not the greatest on this holster. I could probably tighten it here with the screws, so on and so forth. Okay, we can get by that, so I can make it a little bit more snug in the holster where it's not hard enough where I, you know, unfortunately, if I have to draw my gun, I can get it out without struggling with it. Because again, this goes right through your belt loop. Now look at the loop on this holster. You're going to have a pretty wide belt. Now, I do carry, my belt is a Versa Carry. Versa Carry, I've had it for years upon years. You'll have to go back in the channel to find the videos of the Versa Carry reviews. But you're going to have a pretty thick belt. Whatever your gap size here is on a holster, you want to have your belt to fill that gap size because you want it snug and you don't want your holster to move around on you. If God forbid you have to get to your gun, you don't want to have to reach for your gun and it be over there. You know what I'm saying? You want it where it needs to be. So I want to put that there. And again, let's talk about changing the dynamics of the firearm in general from its original form. So this is an Alien Gear holster. A lot of people don't like Alien Gear stuff. I'm not a huge fan of it because of this stuff. This is a shell changing kind of thing. And when you're starting to give Roll Call 219 this stuff, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to be honest with you. Look how little that nut is. I'm probably going to drop that on the floor and never find it down here. I mean, I don't like this kind of stuff. I just don't. It's just not me. It might be for you. It's called the Shape Shift holster. I'm not a big fan of stuff like this. I mean, I think this kind of makes you want to carry inside or outside the waistband, but I can do that with other holsters. Like I've seen tons of people where like Versa Carry gives you an option for inside or outside the waistband. And there's no Allen wrenches, screws, and knickknacks and doodads to throw on there. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not trying to piss Alien Gear off, but again, when you start changing the dynamics of a gun, it's going to change the dynamics of your holster. Let's just be honest. I mean, this is like the grip zone because it has the little trigger there. But look at the retention on that. But again, when you start moving the dynamics of a firearm, that will change your holster styles. Now again, I have a bunch of things, including an alien head to look at while I'm looking how to adjust retention in a holster. And I'll have to probably take this thing out and I'll have to go through it and look at it. You know what I'm saying? And figure out where I have to put the Allen wrench to tighten up this holster so I don't have this type of retention. That's too loose for me. I like something like this. Something like this where I can turn it upside down. Now again, shaking it, you know, it'll start coming out of there. It'll start coming out of that holster. But again, I mean, it shouldn't have to do that unless you're turned upside down. But again, when you start changing dynamics of a gun, it's going to change the dynamics of your carry options. So again, I'm going to have to look at this thing and figure out what I'm going to do with it, if I'm even going to use it. Now, I will say the padding on the back here is really nice. This is cool. Again, I don't know how it would be if you start, you know, sweating, because again, it's starting to get warm. We're moving into the springtime, you know, heading into summer. So I don't know how this would react to sweating. I am fat, so it is what it is. So my preference here on this gun is I really like the grip frame. I like this frame the way it is. I like the module capability of this firearm. Another reason why I wasn't hesitant to trade it off. And the trigger is really nice. Hopefully my P365 gets a little bit of a trigger job, because you can't do it with those guns. And you know, that fits that person. And this is going to be a cool shooter. Again, the owners of this gun have really liked shooting it. It's been reliable, and they have no malfunctions with it. So it tells you it's reliable. It's a little bit dirty. If you look at my hands, it's a little bit dirty because people shoot their guns. I'm not one of these people that put a goldish colored barrel and a goldish trigger on stuff, you know, and Gucci stuff out. I run my guns. I shoot my guns. I bang my guns up. I run them through woods. You know what I'm saying? Look at some of my long guns. You'd be like, man, you put that through a pounding, you know, and it is what it is. You know, I run guns. I shoot guns. This is what I do, you know. So I like it. I think it's going to fit well. It's something that I want to experience. I want to experience this modular control unit. And again, as long as everything works out with the other guy, maybe I'll build something else. Maybe I'll build something else with this frame and just buy the fire control unit. Now, again, for you anti-gunners and you people that cry like little babies, you still have to fill out a background check for it. It doesn't get sent to your house. This isn't the 60s, okay? So get over yourself here. So I might have to build something else on this frame. But again, I don't like the way the original stippling is on the frame. I don't quite like this stuff. Again, the mag release is different than it is on that gun. You know what I'm saying? It sticks out more, it protrudes more. But still, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this gun. And then maybe possibly build another gun off of it. So that's cool. Again, I'll have to get a slide barrel and all that jazz. But still, I really like this configuration, and I've looked at a couple of videos on YouTube, and a lot of people like this a little bit better than the original style P320. So there's a lot of different options out there for you to carry a firearm and feel comfortable with, and I think this is going to fit well. It's going to fit well. It has a good balance. Again, I'm not a huge fan of how Sig does their slides, but it is what it is. Again, get yourself a proper holster. Remember, modifying guns, you can have good experiences or you can have bad experiences, but you're going to have to shoot these guns and you're going to have to get comfortable with it. There's no getting around it. You're changing the dynamics of the firearms when you start doing this stuff. Yeah, they may look cool, they may look nifty, but again, if you're going to carry these guns, you better get familiar with them, and you better throw a bunch of rounds down range and see the functionality, because all that stuff changes functionality. Sig learned that in the early days of the P320, where they had to send those guns back for different trigger. So again, it is what it is. Me, I like it. I think it's a pretty fair trade. I gave up my 365, a couple of magazines, plus I bought that little extension magazine for it. That wasn't cheap. So I think we're in the ballpark for the most part. And then for somebody just to say, hey, try out these holsters, see if you like them. Cool, thank you, I appreciate it. Definitely gonna keep this one around because it's a little bit better. I can change retention on it to make it a little bit more stiff inside the holster. But again, you know me, I'm gonna go search the internet and find a holster that I really like. I mean, again, I'm a leather holster kind of guy. That's just the way I am. Yeah, we can talk about Kydex and leather, and we can throw those opinions around. This one, I'm not too sure about. Again, I'm going to have to bust open the directions and figure out what I'm going to do with this because the retention in it just sucks. But again, the frame has been modified, so that might have something to do with it because I can't put this in there and try and check it out because it doesn't have a frame and it doesn't have the guts. I'd have to take everything out, put it back here in the original configuration and throw it in there. Maybe it'll work like that. But right now, the way this gun is set up, it's just not going to work in that holster. For me, I highly recommend that you check different options when you start doing this stuff. But for the most part, we're going to go shoot this thing. I got a day or two off, plus another day coming up in the middle of the week. Plus we got NRAM, so I took some time off for that. So there's a couple of shooting ranges down in Indy. So maybe I'll take this down there and start putting rounds and rounds down through there. You know, go through my little stash of wedding gifts and start grabbing a couple of boxes, go down there, shoot for a day maybe, shoot on lunchtime, go back and do the show. So that's my plans for this gun. Try it out, see if I like it, and if I do, I might even carry it. So there you go. That's my opinions on the Sig P320. A lot of people own them. Tons of things you can do it. You can even convert this thing to 357 Sig if you feel necessary. Good luck trying to find the ammo on that. But a lot of different ways you can mess with these SIGs. Find your configuration. Find your handgun if you're a SIG kind of person or if you want to try them. There's tons of different options out there. They make a ton of different guns from the macro to the 365 to the X carry. Tons of different options out there and they're all modular, you know, for the most part. I even think probably the 365 is modular. Again, I don't have that gun to compare it here, so don't quote me on that. But I know a lot of the other guns that are coming out that SIG are doing, you can take the guts out of it, put it in a different frame. But remember, every time you do that and you start changing the dynamics of a firearm, get used to the dynamics that you've changed. That way, it's a little bit safer to carry. I'd like to thank my old and my new subscribers, just the people that scoot through. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for me. It really helps with the algorithms. Like always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.